Welcome back, you guys, to Let's Read Danganronpa If. And in the last episode, apparently, Mukuro was not human for a while, trying to fight off a bunch of Monokumas. Mondo saved us, we came back, and apparently Makoto's been telling everybody about the memories that they lost. And now, there is mutual trust! And now, as she looked at the boy who had smiled at her, Makoto didn't know what to say. She couldn't think of anything to say at all. The battle was over, and Makoto was now going back to being a disappointing girl. She turned away from everyone's faces and apologetically climbed off the back of the motorcycle. But Makoto saw her and slowly opened his mouth to say, "Thank you, Makoto. You saved my life." Makoto gave her sincere gratitude between his weak breaths. Makoto couldn't bring herself to look at him as she mumbled to herself, Why is there motorcycles going past again? There's so many motorcycles. That's like the 5th one tonight." Huh? If Kyoko told you, you already know what I did, right? After gaining his memories and learning the truth, Makoto should have been nothing but a hated traitor to him. Why would he smile at someone like her? Makoto kept her head down. Makoto smiled as if he was unsure how to respond and said, "Well, I guess you're right. But you also saved my life many times during these past 2 years," and Makoto took a deep, quiet breath and smiled at Makoto again. "You're my friend. We spent all that time with each other. It would be great if we could look for a different path, not despair. And if there's any way I can help you, I will. Do you really think I can walk another path at this point? I don't know what you can do, or what even I can do. But I think it's more important that I look for that path instead of actually finding it." Was it intentional or coincidence? Just before he regained his memories, Makoto had said something similar to Makoto whenever they spoke to him in the nurse's office as Junko. Regardless of whether he lost his memories or regained them, those words revealed Makoto's true character. As Makoto confirmed that to herself, Makoto blurted out something that was almost too trusting. "It's not just you. Even Junko can." But he was immediately interrupted. Monaco's face appeared on every monitor in the academy, and his laughter seemed to be coming out of every speaker. "I could have kept pretending to be the ultimate hacker, but it's boring to impersonate someone who doesn't even exist. If this keeps up, I'll lose my identity and turn into Kanakuma." Kyoko looks at the surveillance camera and addressing Monokuma directly. "You seem to give up pretty easily." "There isn't a bear anywhere that gives up as easily as I do. Regardless, I'm pretty sure Chihiro has figured that out my secret of my control program by now. So just as I thought, you included that... Just so I thought, so you included that program on purpose." Kyoko realized something when Makoto told her about Junko. There were 2 reasons such a hateful person would intentionally leave an obvious clue inside of the Monokuma units. Either Junko wanted the students to learn the truth about the outside world and themselves on their own and turn their lives into their hopes into despair, or she was looking forward to the clue that resulting in her own plan being undone, which would allow her to feel despair towards herself. She was an angel of everlasting darkness, delighting in her own despair and using it to spread despair and destruction to those around her. Why would someone like that continue to play the role of Monokuma? "Actually, I sent the program to Chihiro to discover so she finally happened to be the one of the 5 final survivors. I feel so sorry for that empty that my preparation was a waste, but I'm gonna think about it positively. The word retreat doesn't exist in Monokuma's dictionary." Narcissus began to grip the students as Monokuma continued to talk in his relaxing, uplifting tone. "Now then, it looks like everyone's here, including Toku, still being tied up in her room. So let's start the hot-throbbing, exciting special graduation exam." Huh? The students broke out in noisy confusion, but Monokuma ignored them and kept talking. "Don't think about it too hard. Relax. Change relax to Oopert and all I care. And I'll say I'll still be the most adorable bear here." Byakuya, visibly annoyed with Monokuma's nonsensical rambling, shouted, "I already know you. It's you, Junko. Stop this game and show yourself." "Oh, my, don't you know? If you want to lure the mastermind out of her heavenly hidey hole, you need to bring up a worthy sacrifice. You're not worthy enough at all. Do you realize the mastermind would show herself if your pathetic hope and despair?" He roared maniacally and then began to explain the graduation exam. "If you pass my exam, everyone will graduate. But if you fail, you'll be held back a whole year. I'll reset your memories, give you a fresh new lease on life. You'll be introduced yourself at the start of the school year again. They say people's lives don't come with reset buttons, but I'm not a people. Whether it's a soft reset or hard reset, I can do as I please. Oh, that's great. Yasuhiro seemed confused by what the other students knew what Monokuma meant by reset. He was going to force them to relive their school lives once again. As Yasuhiro struggled to understand, Taka pointed at a nearby monitor and shouted, "Stop this already! No matter what you do, we'll never commit murder! These past few days, you should have already made that clear to you!" "What was that?" Monokuma jumped. "Are you serious?" "Of course! No one here would ever take another human's life for any reason!" As Taka shouted, one of the students, a pale-faced girl apart from the others, looked away. It was Sayaka. As she trembled, a voice popped up from behind her. "What do you think, Sayaka?" "Huh?" She couldn't even turn around from the sheer horror, but Sayaka knew. She knew Monokuma was standing right beside her. "Do you really think none of you will become a killer?" Monokuma leaned towards Sayaka and asked her a question only she could hear. "By the way, Sayaka, why did you go to Makoto's room when nothing strange had happened yet? Did you two have an inappropriate relationship? What would your fans think if they found out that you made a move on a boy by sneaking into his room? Or were you there for another reason?" She could barely make a sound, much less scream, as her trembling worsened. Monokuma had nothing to gain by cornering Sayaka and toying with her emotions like this. He simply wanted to see the young singer fall into despair over her true character. And for that reason, Monokuma did not relent. Hey! What were you trying to do to your close friend that you've known for the past 2 years?" Her determination from last night blended with the memories that Makoto had recounted and ate away at Sayaka's mind like a disease. I love how they spelled it wrong. Sayaka. Oh my gosh, there's so many typos. Guys, whenever you make a game, you've got to actually read over the entire thing before you send it out. I've mentioned this like in Life is Strange and stuff. Glitches like this should not happen. You need to make sure you play your game the full way through, and you gotta read everything. You gotta make sure you read all the text and stuff and proofread, spell check. I know Sayaka's name won't spell check, but you guys know what I mean. You gotta make sure you check these things over before you release these kinds of things, because otherwise it makes you look like a dip whenever I see this kind of stuff. Anyways, as her mind began to rip apart, she fell to her knees. A clear ball flying under 105 miles per hour struck Monokuma in the mouth with enough force to sink into his face. The speaker in Monokuma's mouth was immediately destroyed by his body, and his body rolled into a wall and stopped moving. Sayaka came to her senses and looked where the ball had come flying from. She saw Leon, breathing heavily as he stared intensely at Monokuma. Yasuhiro grabbed him and yelled, Dude, why'd you do that, Leon? That crystal ball is very valuable! Leon had stolen Yasuhiro's crystal ball and thrown it at Monokuma. That Monokuma bastard was trying to take Sayaka hostage. What am I supposed to do? Dude, that crystal ball cost me $2 trillion! $2 trillion! I don't even print that much money anymore. Bullshit. Besides, the world is all screwed up. What the hell are you gonna need that money for anyways? If it's safe out there, I'll just join the major leagues or whatever and pay you back. Well, I could pay you back doing something else besides baseball. As those two argued. What was that? Wait, Leon, are you gay? Is that what that meant? As the two argued, Sayaka fell to her knees. Hey! Shouted Leon, running towards her. Sayaka, are you okay? She looked at him and stared blankly. Leon? She had made up her mind and she raised her head and she said, there's something I need to confess to you later. What? Seriously? Sayaka was staring at Leon so intensely they briefly forgot about the current situation. Not just you, but to Makoto and the others too. Sayaka had made up her mind to confess the sin that she weighed heavily on her mind, but Leon seemed to not hear the latter of half of her remark. He ran back to the others, slapped Hifumi and Yasuhiro on their backs and shouted, Alright everyone, let's ace this exam or whatever and get out of here. There's no way I'm gonna let my happy memories of this place get taken away. And Monokuma inside the monitor responded, Fine! Now that things are starting to come to a boil, let's start the graduation exam. Sakura, who had been outside the dormitory, suddenly appeared with some information. The Monokumas in the hallway are all acting peculiar. The students all moved to the main building to see what Sakura was talking about. And they saw 50 Monokuma standing in 2 rows along the walls of the hall, and one standing at the very end of the hall. There was something very strange on top of that Monokuma's head, a large version of the escape button that Makoto had obtained from the Mono machine. As each student looked at the sight, an announcement rang through the school. The me at the end of the hall has a button on the top of his head that'll open the main entrance. All you have is you have 15 seconds to get to that button, and if you do, you'll have it in place of a diploma. The student seemed surprised by the straightforward explanation. Only Celeste remained calm as she asked Monokuma with a bored look on her face. Of course, it's not as simple as running and taking it, is it? Oh, how mean! Do I look like the kind of headmaster that would interfere with the student's graduation? Forget the gunfire salutes. I'm going to send my graduates off with some fireworks. 100 fireworks to be exact, enough for 25 seconds of hardcore partying. More perceptive students immediately realized what he was talking about. The bombs installed beside each Monokuma. They would explode one after the other, filling the hallway with fire as soon as time started. After 15 seconds, the me standing in the back of the hall is going to sacrifice himself to give you guys one final firework. By the way, this probably isn't important, but the button isn't very durable. This graduation exam was Monokuma's way of saying that he had no intention of letting anyone leave. It was clear from the explosion of the students saw during the entrance exam that the halls of the Hope's Peak Academy would be bathed in fire. If someone was lucky enough to survive the explosions, the burns on their bodies alone would be enough to send them into fatal shock. Their lungs might be completely incinerated by the scorched air before that. If they sacrificed one student to run through, the odds were low that they would even succeed. But there was no reason for every student to run at once, and the shadow of despair fell upon their faces. Nice. Very nice! I almost want to take a picture, so I have these faces as a souvenir. As Monokuma laughed from behind the monitor, Sakura stepped forward. I'll do it. I've only seen the explosion once, but I believe I'm capable of withstanding its power. No! Shouted Aoi. You can't! Even if you couldn't handle you couldn't handle 1,000 of those 100 of those explosions? Sakura shook her head. I'm the only one who even has a chance. Suddenly, Mondo remembered the motorcycle he parked inside the dormitory and said, Hold up, that motorcycle might be fast enough to go through those explosions. I'll do it! Don't be hasty, he urged Sakura. Even if the motorcycle isn't harmed by the explosion, that doesn't mean the rider will be. Sakura and the others continued their debate. One person stepped towards a hallway lined with Monokumas. I'll do it. Mukuro! Screamed Makoto weakly, sorry. Mukuro, with her back facing Makoto, turned to her head slightly and gave him a small nod. She knew it would come to this. She knew why Monokuma would pose such an impossible exam. Junko already looked forward to the next despair game. She's going to erase everyone's memories, including mine. She just wants to torment us and fill us with despair before that happens. But Makoto knew her sister's personality all too well, and that's why she was confident. She knew that the escape button was real. Whenever Junko brought despair to others, she always made sure it was a possibility that despair would befall her instead. If the students won this gamble and made it through this horrible situation, they would finally escape to the outside world. The outcome would obviously fill Junko with immense despair. In the same way, she left a clue in Monokuma's control program. Junko would not be satisfied until she took her own pains to assure her own destruction. This was a quality that made Junko the ultimate despair. That's why Makoto was determined to do it. She knew she was the only person who stood a chance of making that outcome possible, even if she had to risk her life. But right now, Makoto wanted to live more than anything. She wanted to hold on to this world, a world that she had no interest in previously. She didn't even know if this hesitation she felt was disappointing or not, but she wanted to live and continue to search for a new path. A path that she would abandon her submission to despair, where she could accept the sins of the past and continue to live. Makoto, who was known as a war machine, found her heart beset by the overwhelming fear and anxiety. Until now, it had never occurred to her that her determination was necessary to live. As if she was brushing that fear aside, she quietly said, Thank you, Makoto. Unfortunately, the words she said to the boy who's shown her new possibilities never reached his ears. Sakura, however, heard her and frowned as she said, If you're planning to sacrifice yourself as an act of penance, I'll stop you with all my power. Though her words were firm, it was unmistakable affection hiding in them. Both girls had dedicated their lives to battle, and yet Makoto felt a twinge of jealousy towards Sakura for possessing something she lacked. Makoto leaned towards Sakura and whispered in her ear, What? Are you serious? As Sakura frown intensified, Monokuma's voice blared through the halls. Alright, I'm gonna start the exam now! Ready, set, go! There was no time for questions or objections. The frontmost Monokuma exploded, sending a roar of heat through the hall. But Makoto didn't look away. She began moving, powered by resolute determination. Wow. Oh man, guys, this is intense. As soon as the graduation exam started, The mastermind focused her control entirely on Monokuma holding the escape button. Completely synchronized her field of vision with it. She knew what was going to happen next. She could predict what her sister Mukuro would do in this exact situation, where she would choose to focus her superhuman ability with weaponry. So through Monokuma's eyes, she watched the scene unfold exactly as she had predicted. The pointed metal bar burst through the explosions, heading straight for the weak point of Monokuma holding the escape button. Specifically, it was aiming for the point where the bomb detonation system and Monokuma's power source overlapped. It flew straight and true as it had been fired by a master archer. In order to bring despair to Monokuma, by an extension Junko as well, a super soldier known as Mukuro Ikusaba, threw the pipe like a spear so it could attack the same weak point she had pierced in the nurse's office. As explosions filled the hallway until only fire remained visible, the spear's speed and precision as it soared into its target defied all human logic. But the mastermind knew. She knew Mukuro had used her power to fill the world with despair. Power that was all that disappointing girl had. But that power was useless against Monokuma. The mastermind had predicted that Mukuro would put all her effort into that throw, and Monokuma caught the metal bar perfectly between his hands. The force of the throw knocked Monokuma back several yards, but the pointed end of the bar never pierced through his chest. That was disappointing. The mastermind turned to look at the different monitor. She wanted to see the look on Mukuro's face when she realized she had failed to strike Monokuma. The despair of seeing a final Monokuma explode right before her eyes completely obliterating the escape button. She wanted to sear that memory of her disappointing sister's final moments as her newfound hope sank into the dark pit of despair. On instinct, she turned her attention to the surveillance camera that hadn't been destroyed, but instead of seeing Mukuro and the others, she only saw Sakura, who looked as though she had finished launching an attack. She only thought it was strange for 1 second, but the hopelessly powerful mastermind completely understood the situation and shifted her point of view to Monokuma. It was because of that single second Junko would feel a pang of despair. Wow. 3 seconds left. Amid the smoke and flames, the heat encircled the hallway and burst through with the speed of a cannon shell. It glared at Monokuma with hot, boiling eyes that betrayed the icy expression on its face, and then, sharply, swiftly, strongly, it transformed into a living weapon that cut through everything, revealing its true form in the Hall of Despair. 2 seconds left. Monokuma was still holding the metal bar and his hands tried to move, but at that exact moment, the living weapon carved a path through the flames and appeared before him. In its body, which had never been wounded on any battlefield, was sustaining a manner of burns and injuries. Even so, it did not falter, and the fire in its eyes never flickered once. 1 second left. The living weapon, Mukuro, slammed her knee into the back of the metal bar that Monokuma was holding. The sharp tip of the metal bar pierced through Monokuma like a rail spike, shredding the detonator and his power source into pieces. Time's up. 100 explosions ceased and the smoke blanketed the hallway. Mukuro had dived into Monokuma and the pristine escape button now rested in her hand. And she and the other students of Post Peak Academy had passed the graduation exam. Thank God! Happy endings, everybody! It was only a small amount of despair. Monokuma had tasted it in only 3 seconds. First floor hallway. Junko. Mukuro looked at Monokuma. He could no longer move or self-destruct. When she spoke to him, a static-filled voice emitted from his mouth. It seemed that his communication function still worked. I never expected you to do that. He still sounded like Monokuma. It seemed like his voice modulator was unharmed as well. I must have overestimated you. I never thought you'd need anyone's help on the battlefield. When I give the signal, please launch me forward with a roundhouse kick. Mukuro whispered these words to Sakura just before the explosion started. After Mukuro threw the metal bar, she jumped into the air at the exact moment Sakura unleashed a roundhouse kick. Right where Sakura's foot made contact with her own, Mukuro used her great force generated by her kick to propel herself at Monokuma. Until using the ultimate martial arts superhuman attack like a springboard, she shot herself through the air like an artillery shell. Enduring intense heat, shrapnel, and blood-draining G-force, she stayed conscious as she charged through the hallway, engulfed with explosions and despair. Mukuro trusted Junko. She trusted Junko to predict that she'd throw the metal bar and catch it accordingly. Then she tried to look at her face as the despair set in. The Junko and Nasima, she knew would definitely do that. Although Mukuro hadn't predicted that her sister would be trying to kill her with spears of Gungnir, she had better understanding of her actions now. As Mukuro stared at Monokuma in his face, all he could do was laugh scornfully. You put your life in someone else's hands for a deadly battle. I don't know how I feel about that. You've always been a half-assed disappointment. I guess this time I'll just say I lost because
because I didn't see this much disappointment coming. The end. The end.
Makoto shook her head at Monokuma. No, you're wrong, Junko.
Huh?
If you want to talk about winning or losing, if you think we lost before we even started... Makoto shifted her eyes shifted from side to side as if she was unsure of something, and she fidgeted in place as she continued to talk. No matter how much despair they felt, you didn't think they'd kill each other the way they were before. That's why you erased their memories. They aren't like the people you forced in the past. You know these students would never do it. That's why you believed, isn't it?
What are you talking about?
So, it's okay, Junko. I'll bring back everyone's memories someday, and I'll show you everyone's happiness and their bonds. I'll show you all that to you, and fill you with even more despair. Makoto nodded as she said this, as if to cheer her sister up. After several seconds of silence, Monokuma responded.
You finally beat me this one time, and that lame speech is the best you can do? You're such a disappointment. You never fill me with despair. It's just constant disappointment.
After pounding like a sore loser, Monokuma continued to speak in his usual tone.
But you guys will be back. And when that time comes, I'll invite you guys to a wonderful place. I found out about this fun island when I was running things here.
Monokuma's laughter filled the room before the static cut out and his remains fell silent. He wouldn't be talking again anytime soon. The mastermind was already preparing a new despair to bring to the world and to the students of Host Peak Academy, Junko included. In the end, the mastermind stayed in her Monokuma persona until the very end, and Junko Enoshima never showed her face again. It was as if she resented the despair Makoto had given her. That thought almost filled Makoto with despair. But she heard her classmate calling. She sealed that despair in the depths of her heart. From now on, she would seal away all of her despair. One day, she can give Junko the perfect despair. She'll unleash all the despair she stored and plunge with her sister into the dark abyss. I won't leave my little sister alone. In the end, that was the first hope that disappointing older sister had felt since she was a child.
Oh my gosh! They actually have a picture of the. Oh my gosh!
Several hours later, main entrance. Makoto, are you really going to wear that wig? After receiving a blood transfusion of the correct blood type, Makoto was beginning to show signs of recovering. Makoto, holding her wig to disguise herself as Junko, and Enoshima nodded. If I live as Junko, I might be able to understand her better. Perhaps that Makoto's voice still sounded like her own, if she hadn't fully decided. And I've made up my mind. While I'm out there, I've decided I'll accept everyone's hatred towards me, and towards Junko. I can't die until I've destroyed all the despair that Junko has spread. The damage that the ultimate despair inflicted upon the world could not be measured in terms of money, culture, or even human life. Television broadcasts already began informing people that Junko and Enoshima and Makoto Isaba were the true heart of despair. Among the survivors, the outside world, there are still people who hadn't been tainted by despair yet. Regardless of the fact that she had released Makoto and the others to the survivors, to these survivors, she was nothing more than the reason the world ended. And to the terrorists wearing Monokuma masks who continued to ravage the world, Makoto was nothing but a traitor. She was now in a hopeless situation of being enemies to most of humanity. Makoto wasn't making a big deal out of it. I'm going to try. I'm not going to kill anyone who comes after me for revenge. Wouldn't it be safer just to turn yourself in? Wondered Yasuhiro. Oh. Well, you might just get executed instead, but you could still live as an old lady in if your trial keeps getting pushed back. Makoto shook her head at Yasuhiro. Lost justice. These things no longer exist. Is it really that bad out there? Maybe we should stay in here. Oh, sorry. Okay, it was the same voice, good. Byakuya glared at Yasuhiro with contempt. Ignorant idiots. You should just shut up. Your fate won't change whether you stay here or not. He was shocked to learn the Togami Corporation had been destroyed. Byakuya continued to remain firm and proud, even towards Makoto. You are a rare asset, continued Byakuya, so I will let you live for now. Depending on your actions, I might consider forgiving your crimes after I've built a new world. Only a Togami would boast that they are capable of forgiving crime, of ending the world. You don't need to do that. I don't plan on just surviving. After turning away from Byakuya, Makoto looked at the other students. Everyone was reacting in their own way. Kyoko had a look of quiet preparation. Toko had just changed back from genocide. Jack was panicked and confused. Yes, I would not expect anything less. Makoto looked back at these 2 years she had spent with them, and then turned to Makoto, who shared the same memories as her, and gave her the escape button. Makoto, you press it. Huh? Me? I think it's better if you press it instead of me. She watched as Makoto accepted the button with some hesitation. Mokuro thought what Monokuma had said.
You guys will be back.
Mokuro knew what Monokuma was telling the truth. After all, the files of these students needed to fully restore their lost memories remained hidden in the academy. The research notes of Yasuke Matsuda, the ultimate neurologist. His research is the key to restoring everyone's memories. Even if the students no longer have their memories, they may be able to repair the bonds they had built among themselves over the past 2 years. But as long as their memories remain unrestored, the mastermind could repeat her deadly plan. Although the island mentioned earlier sounded strange, the students could not turn their backs on the despair facing them. Then, let's go. Makoto remembered everything was happening in the outside world. The boy who had chosen to remain inside the academy 2 years ago was now choosing to leave. How much did he struggle to come to that decision? He was determined to face the despair awaiting him outside and hide his internal conflict from others. By protecting Makoto's hope, Makoto would bring despair to her beloved sister. But she no longer knew if the end of her goal would lead to hope or despair. She pulled the wig over her head and hid her face with her hands. She was smiling because hope was waiting for her, or was she crying because her path would lead to despair? When she lowered her hands, her face was devoid of emotion. Makoto no longer knew what expression she would wear on her face. At the same time, Makoto pressed the escape button. A siren began to wail, the turrets retracted into the ceiling. From beyond the heavy door, a bright light appeared. An infinite number of ifs, and all the possibilities contained therein encased the world. Accepting everything. Hope, despair, and even the feelings of that disappointing girl, Mukuro Ikusaba. Aw, I actually am really happy about this. I know, I shouldn't be happy about this. I wish this was the true ending of the game, though, because this would have been nice, because everybody lives. Everybody's happy. Just let everybody be happy! Do we actually get to see what it looks like outside, though? I don't even know. Or are we just gonna be like, oh. This is kind of the same ending as in the first game. Interesting. Interesting. Alright, so... Oh, and I earned a trophy for that. Cool. For the moment, that's all the newy shit. That was what I got from beating the second game. I figured that would be interesting. Eventually, I will come back. I don't know when exactly. I'm not sure if I'm going to start working on this later or not. Eventually, I'm going to come back to work on both the school life, the just kind of datey sim, no death kind of version of Trigger Happy Havoc, or if I'll do Island Life, which is Danganronpa 2's basic school life, no deathy thing. Either way, I'd be happy to do either. So, who knows? But the question is, I'm more likely to do number 1, mainly because I already did, like, the only people that I would really truly want to get their, like, things with would probably end up being, like, my favorite characters. For, like, 1, it'd be, like, Taka, and Mondo, and Shapiro, and Junko, probably, to just figure out what's going on here with Mukuro. And the second game would be, like, Fuyuhiko, and Sonia, and Chiaki, and, you know, there's a lot of people that I do want to get those kinds of endings for. I'm not going to do it right away, probably. Eventually, I'm actually, after this, going to put this game away for a little while and work on some other stuff. Because I've got other games to play. I bought new games and stuff today, too, so it's really important. Thank you guys for watching, if you did watch the entire, and thank you so much. I hope this kind of brought some interesting light, if things were different in the first game and everybody survived. So, thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys are having a fantastic day. Please like, comment, subscribe for more videos like this every other day. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.